Good afternoon, everyone. We are about to get started, so if you could take your seats, please. I feel that it will be a hard crowd to get into your seats, but we should start soon. Thank you, everyone, and good afternoon. I'm Katie Shepard. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Dean of the University of Vermont College of Education and Social Services. And I am so pleased to welcome you today to one of UVM's most revered traditions, the Endowed Faculty Investiture Ceremony. Today, we have the pleasure of recognizing and celebrating an outstanding faculty member. This afternoon, Dr. Jason Garvey will be formally invested as the inaugural Sanford Friedman-Jerome Hips Green and Gold Professor of Education. We are privileged to have a number of special guests joining us here to mark the special occasion. UVM Provost and Senior Vice President Patty Prelock, the UVM Foundation Interim President and CEO Jim Keller, our excellent faculty, staff, and students, and some HESA alums, and many leaders from around the College of Education and Social Services and across campus. Additionally, we have some folks joining us on live stream, so we want to welcome them as well. They include our former Dean, Scott Thomas, who made the initial conversations with Sanford and Jerry that led to this wonderful partnership and the day we're celebrating today. I'd also like to recognize Jay's parents, Paul and Jenny Garvey. and Jay's partner, Dan Piper. As we convene for this ceremony, I would like to read a statement acknowledging the historic Abenaki land upon which we have gathered today. UVM is located on the land which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange among Indigenous people for thousands of years and is home to the Abenaki people. UVM honors, recognizes, and respects these peoples as the traditional stewards of the unceded lands and waters on which we gather today. We extend our respect outwards into the four directions. We recognize the longer history of this place, which reaches far beyond colonization, and its significance for the Indigenous peoples who lived and continue to live upon this territory. In that spirit, today we will begin by acknowledging that we are guests in this land. We need to respect and help protect the lands and waters we use. We recognize that acknowledgement alone is insufficient, and we commit to elevating Indigenous peoples and perspectives through our work. Thank you. This endowed professorship marks the third for the College of Education and Social Services. These positions have been critical to supporting our faculty, and I'd like to pause to acknowledge the generous supporters who made them possible. First, Mel Levitt, who holds a bachelor's and a master's degree from our college, and her father, Michael, who established the Levitt Family Green and Gold Professorship that I have been honored to hold. Second, the Adam and Abigail Burak Green and Gold Professorship held by Dr. Bernice Garnett. This is another professorship from a father and daughter that attended UVM. But today we're here to recognize and celebrate and thank Sanford Friedman, class of 1973, and Jerry Hips for endowing this faculty position in the college. I need to tell you a little bit about this amazing pair. Sanford and Jerry contribute to our community and society in so many different ways, and I will always be grateful for their support of the college and the University of Vermont. Their support has touched many different aspects of UVM. Sanford is currently on the Alumni Association Board of Directors in the UVM Foundation, chairing its affinity group subcommittee, serving on its diversity and equity committee, and serving on the UVM Hillel Board of Directors. Sanford co-chaired the 20th anniversary of the PRISM Center in 2019 and co-emceed the program. Jerry and Sanford were on the planning committee for this event, and Jerry was the event's photographer. That's a theme. Sanford co-chairs UVM's LGBTQA alumni affinity group and was the chair of its New York City LGBTQA alumni event. Jerry was the event's photographer. Sanford was also the keynote speaker for the university's Rainbow graduation in 2015. At home, Sanford and Jerry both currently serve on the board of directors of the Foundation for the Palm Springs Unified School District. Sanford and Jerry are active in many of the Foundation's projects, including awarding classroom grants and serving as mentors at the Desert Hot Springs High School, where they provide support with the college application process to students who are at risk of not applying to college. Sanford has also just become president of his temple in Palm Springs, California. Sanford and Jerry are both talented photographers and have recently showed their work in Chicago, Greece, and Provence, each having their own websites with their photographs, where their photographs are on display. I urge you to take a look at those beautiful photographs when you have time. Those of us who know Sanford and Jerry are not surprised by their impressive list of accomplishments, their commitment to education, and their incredible impact on the community. We cannot thank them enough for all they do for our community. Thanks to Sanford and Jerry, UVM students will always be able to learn from truly outstanding scholars whose teaching and research will enhance our university. Professor Garvey has and will continue to influence hundreds of lives through his teaching, mentoring, research, and collaborative work. And I know that includes many of you in this room. Before we move on with the program, I would like to acknowledge the work of the University of Vermont Foundation. The foundation has been a tremendous ally in the university's and the college's efforts to strengthen our faculty, programs, and facilities through private philanthropy. Significantly, the foundation has helped donors like Sanford and Jerry establish many new endowed faculty positions in the past decade. Today, the university boasts over 120 chairs and professorships, and we are extremely proud to welcome Professor Garvey to that esteemed group today. For several years now, the University of Vermont has paid special tribute to the outstanding scholars, researchers, and teachers who served as endowed chairs and professors. In doing so, we embrace a symbolic tradition dating back to the Middle Ages, when early European universities honored their scholars with elaborate rites of investiture. At UVM, these ceremonies acknowledge and highlight the stature of the newly endowed positions and celebrate the significant accomplishments and promising future of the recipients. At this time, it's my great pleasure to introduce UVM Provost and Senior Vice President, Patty Prelock, to offer her thoughts. Please join me in welcoming Patty.
Thank you so much, Katie, and it's so great to be here, and thank you for all of your support to really recognize this most outstanding member of the faculty. And although I'm gonna go off script for a moment, don't worry, Foundation, not too much. As you may know, all the professorships need to come to my office. And so it's a real thrill when you actually know the work and the integrity of the person that comes through. And when Jim Vigoro brought forward Jay Garvey's application and nomination, I'm thinking it's about time. This is so great to recognize this incredible individual who's done so much, and I have appreciated his service to the university, his teaching to the university, and his amazing research. And he's just a young guy too. It's amazing. His energy is incredible. So it was a privilege when I had to sign off. I didn't even have to think about it. So Jay, I'm really proud of you, and this is a real pleasure for me. So UVM's strategic vision, as you know, the president talks about amplifying our impact, and it's built on three interconnected priorities. One is ensuring our students' success and their ability to access a high quality education. The College of Education and Social Services is quite important in that effort. And then investing in the university's research strengths. And that is clearly an element that Jay contributes to at a significant level. And then finally, and really importantly, is honoring our land grant mission and service to Vermont and the University of Vermont and to our community, which Jay and his work does, as well as our College of Education and Social Services. Outstanding members like Professor Garvey are absolutely critical at every level to achieve that amplifying our impact, to really achieve our vision and fulfilling our UVM mission. And indeed, our remarkable faculty and staff are the university's most precious assets. From my perspective as provost, there are many reasons that endowed professorships and chairs are so important for the University of Vermont. First and foremost, they signify the excellence of our faculty. Jay is a perfect example, as is Katie in the position that she holds, and all the other endowed professorships and chairs that we honor. Appointment to an endowed position is actually among the highest academic honors that the university can bestow on a faculty member. It really allows the university to recognize and celebrate academic achievement and to encourage continued scholarly and service excellence. So it's so wonderful when we have donors who recognize that and invest in the future of our faculty and in the future of a generation that Jay will actually continue to impact. Since our endowed faculty position will last as long as UVM exists, it becomes both an honor to the holder and an enduring legacy for the donors who establish it. Named chairs and professorships help ensure the quality and strength of our faculty for generations to come, and it permanently reflects the interests and hopes of our donors who have vision and invest in that vision in this incredible faculty. Endowed professors and chairs are incredibly important for recruiting and retaining our best thinkers. That means, Jay, you're not allowed to leave us. You got that, right? And the most creative researchers and the most effective teachers. These exceptional faculty members in turn create a really dynamic and engaging environment that attracts outstanding students. If you're not sure, just stand out Jay's office or be in his classroom and you will see how he impacts students. Over the years, each named professorship or chair will touch hundreds of lives through their teaching, their mentoring, their research, and the collaborative work that they do. Endowed faculty positions actually add momentum to UVM's already strong departments and programs and promote engagement and expertise in clinical fields as well. The resources that these endowments generate actually helps our named professors and chairs expand the frontiers of research, enhance their teaching, and really foster even greater collaboration across the institution. Finally, endowed chairs and professorships cultivate talent and they lend legitimacy to the holder's work. They signify that the problems they are trying to solve, the teaching they are delivering, and the changes they are trying to make in the world are invaluable and worthy of their effort, the university's investment, and society's attention. Today, We are very proud to recognize Professor Jay Garvey as one of these outstanding faculty members and to welcome him to the growing rank of UVM endowed professors and chairs. I couldn't be more proud. And we thank Sanford and Jerry for their lasting impact on this university and for helping to catalyze our ability to attract and retain exceptional faculty members like Professor Garvey. So I know you want to hear much more about Professor Garvey, and no better person to do that than Dr. Kimberly Van Ness, the chair of the Department of Education, and she will introduce Jay. Kimber?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Provost Prelock, Dean Shepard, and thank you, Sanford and Jerry. Thanks also, I would like to mention Jane, who served as your chair for a number of years when you first arrived. It's a great pleasure to have the opportunity to say a few words about today's honoree, Professor Jason J. Garvey, and my honor in meeting and knowing him. I arrived at the University of Vermont in 2019, about 8 months before the pandemic. And I remember meeting Jay, who was then a member of a different department, as a passionate and charismatic faculty member, convinced he could change the world and convincing others along the way. This conviction was so compelling that I attended several trainings and presentations by Professor Garvey, and I benefited greatly from his work and outreach. Not too much later, just the next summer, Dr. Garvey and his program joined the Department of Education, and he and I spent a great deal of time on the University Green planning and plotting how to enact this world-changing view of research, teaching, and service. I was struck then, as I remain now, with the conviction and charisma of this outstanding scholar and his drive and passion to make UVM and all institutes of higher education a space for safe inquiry, scholarship, being, and knowing. The University Green, where I first really got to know Jay, is a bit of a metaphor reflecting Professor Garvey's work. The University Green, in case you didn't know, was initially an uncultivated field for several decades. Early photographs, I looked it up, show wagon tracks, sheep would wander and graze from nearby farms. There have been festivals here, military encampments, political rallies, and celebrations. Over time, that uncultivated field became graded walks, fences, and paved paths. Elm trees were added and then lost. The connections of this space to our UVM experience is how I would like to describe Jay to you today. While he was probably never an uncultivated field, although we might ask his folks, he demonstrates the intellectual foundations of studies and interests that created the paths where others would eventually walk. Dr. Garvey received his initial degree in educational studies with minors in psychology and piano performance from the University of Delaware. And had I known that too much earlier, we might have secured a piano. He went on to earn a degree in school psychology from The Ohio State University and graduate specializations in sexuality studies. From there, he earned certificates in measurement statistics and evaluation and the PhD in college student personnel administration from the University of Maryland, winning a Dissertation of the Year award from AERA, the American Education Research Association. Dr. Garvey then spent time developing his scholarship and professional impact at the University of Alabama before coming to the University of Vermont in 2016. I'll call this the fences and trees phase. And like the University Green that students wrote poetry about hundreds of years ago, Jay has distinguished himself as a feature of campus, a leader, a change agent, the fountain from which students and the rest of us drink. We could see that testimony here. I'll have to ask you if you've ever written poems about Professor Garvey. He has smoothed the paths on which others travel and secured a safe space for so many students and academic colleagues here at the University of Vermont. This work includes national awards and recognitions for excellence in research and scholarship, college student advocacy, and student affairs administration. His research agenda is forward-thinking and inwardly reflective. He serves as the executive associate editor of a scholarly journal and guest-edited volumes for 2 other scholarly journals. Jay has published 2 books, 9 book chapters, 30 peer-reviewed journal articles. Jay has received funding for 5 research studies from prestigious agencies such as the National Science Foundation and the American Educational Research Association, or AERA. He's also recently submitted a Fulbright, a sabbatical, and another NSF application. Honestly, the support letters are kind of wearing me out. I am thrilled to watch the rocket ship that is your career, and I appreciate being a part of it. Dr. Garvey currently leads the HESA program, Higher Education and Student Affairs Administration. He's a faculty associate for leadership and social change in learning community. He was recently a research associate for the Q Research Institute for Higher Education. We really like acronyms, don't we? In these leadership roles, Jay shaped our shared landscape. For example, in 2020, Jay launched Queer and Trans People in Education, QDPI, a multi-institutional research team with a mission to educate, advocate, and build coalitions that advanced equitable policies and practices for queer and trans people in higher education. To use some of Jay's own words, his scholarship, teaching, and service are closely tied to his own educational journey. His research examines the experiences of queer and trans collegians across educational contexts, primarily using quantitative methods. Jay often frames his scholarship through critical cultural perspectives, including intersectionality and queer theory, and he foregrounds salient experiences for queer and trans collegians, including identity development, retention, campus climate, and belonging. Jay proudly identifies as a quantitative queer, navigating the borders of post-positivistic quantitative methods and post-structural queerness. This green and gold professorship is a most well-deserved landmark achievement for a landmark faculty member. Jay, congratulations, and thank you from all of us who benefit from sharing this space with you. Congratulations.
Now is the big time. Thank you, Kimber. Before we continue, I would like to invite those of you who are watching this ceremony from the live stream feed to relay your messages of congratulations to Jay via the chat feature. We are saving and recording that live stream, and Jay will be able to read the messages later. So thank you for that. We will now present Dr. Garvey with the medallion. I may ask you to hold it, Kimber, that marks this occasion and signifies his status as the holder of an endowed faculty position. We hope he will wear it with his academic regalia at commencement and other official university functions. Professor Jason C. Garvey, please step forward to receive your medallion. You can stay. As you've heard, Dr. Jason Garvey embodies the College of Education and Social Services passion for educating and preparing outstanding professionals in education, social work, and human services, engaging in policy-relevant scholarship of highest quality, and providing exemplary professional service within the state of Vermont, nationally and globally. Professor Garvey is an outstanding scholar and educator. His work brings great distinction to the College of Education and Social Services and the University of Vermont. We are so proud to count him among our distinguished faculty. Professor Garvey, as the inaugural Sanford, Friedman, and Jerome Hips Green and Gold Professor of Education, we honor you today with this medallion. May it serve as an enduring symbol of your excellence that you strive to achieve in all aspects of your professional life. Congratulations. And now I invite our newest, no, you can't go away yet. Oh, okay. I invite our newest green and gold professor, Jay Garvey, to share his reflections.
Thank you. Don't worry, I'm a theater kid, so I never shy away from a microphone, Katie. Also, I'm a Cancer and an emotional queer, so let's see how this goes today. I'm just really excited to see you all feeling like a big warm hug in this room. So for everyone who's here, thank you so much. I just wanted to say special thanks to my mom and dad. They're just the best ever. I love you so much. And my partner, Dan, thanks for helping me see that the work that I do at UVM is one important part of me, but my life is much more than just being a faculty member. So I love you. I wouldn't be here were it not for the HISA leadership team. So I wanted to give a special thanks to my bestie, Tracy and Tiffany and Chris, who I think I saw in the back, and Dolan, who is also here as part of the HISA leadership team. Big, huge shout out, of course, to current HISA students. And the alums who have been so important for my formation as an emerging faculty member. I wanted to give a big thank you to Scott and Erica, who were the architects of so much of this and who introduced me to Sanford and Jerry and cultivated a really long friendship and partnership. There have also been a number of folks in the SES community who have been really formative for my development, including, of course, Katie and Kimber and Jane and HISA Emerita faculty, Deb Hunter and Kathy Manning, who were very formative in my years as an emerging faculty. Thanks also for inviting me to this space, Patty, and for holding this occasion, and to the foundation and everyone who helped organize the event. Before I get on to Jerry and Sanford, I also want to thank the queer and trans scholarly community and the professional community in queer and trans student services, including Kate German and Dot Brower. So thank you for being a guiding light for me as an emerging professional as well. And then finally, Sanford and Jerry. Oh my gosh, that just happened, didn't it? I feel like for the beginning of my career, I was trying to produce so much to demonstrate my worth as a researcher. And it wasn't until my mid to late 30s and when I met you all that I realized that my worth is inherent and I didn't have to produce something to be worthy of praise and accolades. And I just wanted to say thanks for being such close friends and for welcoming me and Dan into your community and for being really the biggest cheerleaders I could have asked for in my scholarly pursuits. The parallel journeys that we've had are uncanny, and it feels serendipitous that we can share in this moment together. I also wanted to give a huge shout out to my mentors, Sue Rankin and Noah Dresner, who were the most influential people that I could have ever asked for in my doctoral training and the emerging part of my faculty career. Noah and Sue taught me what it meant to be a queer person in the academy and to uplift queer and trans people through intersectional justice by the scholarship that I do. And Sue's watching today, so I just wanted to say hi to Sue. So queer and trans scholarship is a really important and meaningful place in society, but it's not always recognized as central to the larger educational mission in higher education. You know, especially during the past presidential administration, we saw and witnessed a vacuum of protections for queer and trans people in society and higher education specifically, from narrowing federal non-discrimination clauses or hostile human rights bills to limit the safety of trans kids. there's important work to be done for queer and trans liberation. And in my opinion, there needs to be more scholarship written by and for trans and queer communities in order to shepherd this vision through. A lot of the times I view my own narrative as a vehicle to convey meaning in the importance of the scholarship that I do. Whether it was when I was physically attacked in DC, or my sexual assault experience, or experiencing workplace discrimination at previous employers, and other very salient and deeply personal experiences, I very much benchmark those against US socio-political and historical facets in queer communities. I remember Matthew Shepard's death, or Tyler Clementi's death by suicide, the Hate Crimes Prevention Act, Stonewall's 50th, and the Pulse shooting in Orlando, of course. All of these have had really profound meanings for me as a queer person, and also as a scholarship who is attempting to uplift queer and trans communities. I thought about this talk so much, and I think the values that I want to share for a moment are about pride and shame. And I want to embrace the word fag in this talk because it very much speaks to how I feel like I'm perceived and how I perceive myself in the academy. Pride manifests in solidarity and love and shared histories for queer and trans communities. And shame is so hidden and discreet, and it can feel so isolating. But I wouldn't be where I am had it not been the unique convergence of pride and shame. And my choice in using the word fag is a welcome call for solidarity, for pride, and to recognize the shared communities of shame that we've experienced walking in these contexts that we live in higher education. And I'm trying to reclaim this word that's deeply entrenched in shame and violence, and understand that to be a fag in the academy is something that I'm really proud of, and I'm not going to back down from it. Within higher education, there's a lot of work to be done for queer and trans communities. And I think that one reason that I came to Vermont was because I saw it as a community that was affirming and accepting, not just of how many publications I had, but for people who saw me as a queer person in all of my complexity. And yet still, there is room for us to grow at the university, especially during the pandemic and budget cuts. We've seen the precarity of identity-based student services. And notably for me, the need to collect demographic information for students, alums, faculty, and staff, so we can truly understand if queer and trans faculty are being retained, how our experiences are in aggregate, and what we can do to better serve queer and trans people. And so I hope Patty receives this with love and an encouragement that Kate German and I will keep pushing for identity-based demographic information so we can more properly assess how queer and trans students are thriving at the university, and so we can use data-informed evidence to make best decisions on how to serve them in student services and in academic services. A lot of this is serendipitous because I study queer and trans alum philanthropy and donor relations, and so it feels like a really great fit to talk about the importance of stewardship for what I'm doing with the gifts that you provided me, Jerry and Sanford. The pandemic put a pause on this investiture ceremony, so I got a little bit of a head start. Since then, as Kimber noted, I've started Cutie Pie, which is a multi-institutional research team to uplift queer and trans people in higher education. And we've been busy. I invite you to visit our website. If you just search for Cutie Pie at UVM, you'll find it. And that was created by Janelle Raimundo, a HISA alum, who is the marketing and communications manager for Cutie Pie. My closest research collaborator and deeply close friend is Dolan, who is sitting in the audience. And they're a HISA alum and a third-year doctoral student in the Ed Leadership and Policy Studies program. Dolan's the research and grants manager for Cutie Pie and has been beside me in everything we've done with Cutie Pie. I also want to uplift Romeo Jackson and Anil Lalwani, and Anil's here in the room, who were the inaugural emerging scholars for the QT Pie research team this summer. And it just so happens that Anil accepted a postdoc and moved to Burlington, so we get to have an in-person friendship now. Amanda Simpfendorfer is also in the audience and served as our quantitative research specialist, and just really proud to have a former doctoral advisee who knows 20 times as much about quant research as I do to be working with me. And I also want to give a special shout out to Mario Suarez at Utah State University and Benjamin Lee Hicks at University of Toronto, who are two affiliate faculty with QT Pie who have worked so closely with us for all of these initiatives. So what have we been doing? As Kimber mentioned, our priorities are education, coalition building, and advocacy. Regarding building coalitions, we established the Emerging Scholar program with QT Pie to offer financial support to queer and trans scholars who want to learn more about quantitative methods and how it can shape policy in higher education. We're also offering a QT Black Queer Scholar Grant to uplift the intersection of race and queerness and transness to support intersectional research. As others have mentioned, we recently received a grant through the American Educational Research Association and NSF to examine retention pathways for queer and trans students. And we are about to submit a $990,000 grant application to the National Science Foundation to support queer and trans retention. And I don't mention the dollar amount to be brazen, but I'm saying that because the generosity that Jerry and Sanford provided to me has been this small seed that has exponentially grown the potential I could have ever possibly imagined. It's with your money that I was able to hire Dolan as a research associate so I could actually have a foundation to pursue grant funding and to hire Janelle to develop a website. I didn't realize how much financial need I had to get on ground footing so that I could move forward with these visions that I've had for over a decade. So thank you so much. I just wanted to close by noting that transformational education is not something that should be done in silos. We must embrace intersectional justice in everything that we do, because oppression is interrelated and everything is informed by pervasive white supremacist and capitalistic dominance, pervasive in higher education. And so for all of us here who are embracing justice-driven scholarship, please remember that to understand queer and trans students, we must also understand the unique intersections of racism, sexism, classism, and other forms of repression in the academy. And then I just want to close with gratitude and solidarity for queer and trans people who as a village have supported me in everything that I've done and made me feel like I belong in the academy like none other. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Jay, for those truly inspiring words. I think we were all feeling a lot of things during your talk, and we're so grateful for your perspectives, the way you share yourself with others, and the way you have promoted so much growth in our college and across the nation. So thank you. It is now my great honor to invite Jerry Hipps and Sanford Friedman to the podium.
Thank you to all of you for being here and for the support and just the opportunity to provide this gift to the University of Vermont. Scott, we're especially appreciative to you for having connected us to Jay. The more I learn about Jay, the more I'm impressed by his background. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to say a few words today. I'm delighted to be talking to you as Dr. Garvey is invested as the first Sanford, Friedman-Jerome Hips Green and Gold Professor of Education. Sanford and I established the professorship because we believe it's vitally important to support scholarship, teaching, and service that impacts LGBTQ students, faculty, and administrators. Sanford and I grew up in a world where gays and lesbians were largely invisible. The Stonewall riots occurred during our first undergraduate years. Reflecting on my career, I see that despite Stonewall's impact on our society, its openness to LGBTQ people, LGBTQ invisibility still persists. Jay's research highlights the consequences of that invisibility and the importance of highlighting and exploring the institutional impacts that that invisibility has and the impacts that institutional policies have on that. And I want to share with you a couple vignettes from my experience that highlight this. In 1993, Sanford and I attended the annual meeting of AERA in Atlanta. During one of the sessions of the Qualitative Research Special Interest Group, yes, can a qualitative researcher find happiness supporting the work of a quantitative researcher? During one of the special sessions of the Qualitative SIG, there was a heated discussion related to the paradigm wars that were raging at the time. Many of the leading scholars in qualitative research were in the room at the time, and they knew that, some of them knew that Sanford and I were partners. At one point, I raised my hand. Sanford was standing next to me, and I made an impassioned comment. The mic next went to a woman who said something derisive about my comments, including something like, well, that's a very straight white male thing to say. I couldn't grab the mic back to correct her, but I did think to myself, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Vignette number 2. When I retired in 2019, I'd been working for 22 years for a major educational research service in our organization, headquartered in San Francisco. I joined in 1997 as an openly gay man. The organization was already offering domestic partner benefits to its employees. In the 2010s, there was an employee committee on diversity that was tasked with providing input on working conditions affecting minorities. Now, the CEO has known both Sanford and me since 1997, and there are visible LGBTQ leaders within the organization. I looked at the committee's membership list in 2017, and I saw that the committee's members included women and minorities, ethnic minorities, but there wasn't one LGBTQ member on the committee. Not one. So much for LGBTQ visibility and inclusion. Jay, I offer you my heartfelt congratulations and thanks for your tireless research and work and your teaching and support of students. I mean, I'm even learning more about the depth of what you're doing as I sit here listening to you talk and listening to your peers. Your research on queer and trans students shines an intense spotlight on issues affecting these students who would otherwise be ignored and their needs neglected. I salute you for single-handedly building an area of academic research that wouldn't exist without your scholarly craftsmanship. Jay sent to us a paper that he had written and asked us to provide comments on. I read through it, and the citations, the scholarly citations that he provided within the paper. And he clearly is a one-man academic production machine he is literally building the airplane while he's trying to fly it. You exemplify the kind of professor Sanford and I had in mind when we established the Green and Gold Professorship. And lastly, Jay, I'm proud to call you a dear friend. Thank you.
A warning, I am infamous for crying when I give these speeches, so I am a Leo and therefore very emotional. If Jay is a quantitative queer, Jerry, you must be a qualitative queer, and I'm sure Egon Guba would still be proud of you. Egon was Jerry's dissertation advisor and a very wonderful person. Oh, forgot the most important thing. That's better. Provost Prolock, Dean Shepard, Dr. Kimberly Van Est, thank you for the opportunity to speak at the investiture of Dr. Jason C. Garvey. Scott, we can't thank you enough for introducing us to this wonderful scholar in person. Thank you for the call the other night. We really appreciated your touching base with us, even though we assumed you probably couldn't make it. You're probably knee-deep in a new job, having moved and all that. Scott came and visited us in the summer of 19, I guess it was. And we dropped on him that we had some money that we were thinking on leaving the university. And he wasn't prepared to talk about that. And so we had a very nice dinner and, we talked about some things, but the wheels were working in the back of his head, I assure you. 2 years ago at this time when Jerry and I were in town, not only for the Alumni Association Board of Directors meeting, but also it was the 20th anniversary of the PRISM Center, and which was formerly the LBGTQA Center. And Scott unfortunately had a biking accident and said he couldn't make lunch with us. But he wanted us to meet this professor. And I said, would it be possible that we could just meet the professor without you? And we did. The kicker was Jerry and I had no more than 2 hours sleep because of delayed flights and trying to get things organized for the PRISM Center event, which went off flawlessly. But boy, the back end of this had a lot of frayed edges that no one saw. Meeting Jay and learning about his scholastic interests, it was a done deal. The synergy between us was so incredible. It only happens a few times in one's life, and for me it has happened at least twice with UVM people. Stay tuned. I would also like to thank the guests, friends, and family, Jay's parents in particular, but friends of ours who are attending either in person or maybe watching the recording once it's posted. There are 3 other people who were seminal in my UVM career among so many that were stellar. The first person told you I can't do this. The first person I wish to acknowledge is Dr. K. Francis Shep. K. Francis was more than my favorite professor and my supervisor of an independent study that enabled me to graduate from UVM. She's been a close friend, a mentor, and just a good person to have known. We have been friends since fall '72. And tomorrow, Jerry and I are getting together, as every time we're in Burlington, we do. The next person is just incredible, and we're lightning struck first if it struck twice with Jay, and that's Dr. Dot Brower. Dot's vision and work as the director of the LGBTQA Center caused me to reconsider giving UVM money when after I graduated, I swore I never would. Dot and the work she did and her vision, along with others, enabled to move UVM from where it was in the 1969 to 73 era when I prowled this university. And it was the Stone Age in terms of issues, even with women and minorities, let alone LGBTQ people, brought UVM as one of the 30 best schools in the nation to go to if you're LGBTQ. And of all the state schools, it is the smallest. The other state schools are Big Ten, Ivy League, you name it, Pac-10. We are the smallest, and that says a lot for a small conservative state. A lot for Dot's vision and her ability to work with people across networks. If anyone moved mountains, it was she. And for the people, Shane Jacobson, former CEO, 2 years ago, tomorrow, we're talking about what makes people give, and it's motivation and emotion. You can hear it in my voice. Dot is responsible for helping tap into the good times at UVM and to show me that UVM was capable of growing. The last person, this is going to be the hardest to get through, I want to acknowledge is the late Jackie Gribbets, whom I wish could be here today so badly. Jackie was one of the major influences in my career. It was she who got me to go from being a simple English teacher to thinking about college student personnel where I might be more effective. Ergo, I went to Indiana University and met Jerry. I never was in student personnel, but I came out with a husband. For those of you who don't know Jackie, she was an institution here. I met her when she was the Dean of Women. And as part of that job responsibility, she oversaw Panhellenic and interfraternity affairs. I was very active in interfraternity affairs and other student affairs, I might add. And that was how I met her and began working with her on committees and things of that nature. She has held many teaching, administrative, and advising positions at the university. And knowing Jackie, she did all of them very well. She was a trailblazer for women's rights and equality, even in pay in the university. She was amazing. She was a force to be reckoned with. So much so that for my graduation lunch, I asked my parents would they invite her to join us. That's how much I think of her. Lastly, and most importantly, she is known for her compassionate, straight-talking manner as an academic advisor who won the hearts of students. And with her compassion, her ability to really put things out there and support them. And she won mine, as you can see. I wish Jackie were here today, Jay, to see what a trailblazer you are. And I know how, one, proud she would be of you and your work, and two, happy that we could help enable it. I always describe Jackie as the person with whom I could take the ashes of my student teaching experience and turn it into something that was going to better the world and the university. As I said, gifts of this nature are typically motivated by emotion. I know that as a fundraiser. Jay, in a conversation that we had, talked about the research shows this. And Jay went on to say that people who've had really, really good experiences do it because what they want is other people to have that wonderful experience. And people who had horrific experiences, when they give money, it's to make sure no one else has the same experience they had. Sadly, this was born out of that, but look at the good it has done. Our bequest comes from two key reasons. The first is I learned that the University of Vermont was one of the 30 best places to go if you're LGBTQ. That really turned me around. That was a major change. The second is I had an incredibly good education and college experience here. It was marred by a traumatic and ineptly handled student teaching experience. While no one would talk about it, and particularly the office that coordinated student teaching, it was all bound up with my being gay. It was too hot and too messy to deal with back then. I was the problem, and it would have, everyone would have liked it if I just went away and so everything could go back to normal. Fortunately, I was active enough in new things that I could arrange an independent study and get it approved by the College of Education. My big fear is what would happen to some student who was not as active and all of a sudden found themselves 8 credits away from graduation and not being able to make it after 3.5 years. It's pretty scary. This is typical institutional behavior when it has to deal with issues that are not within its norms. They'll blame the victim, try to make the problem disappear, or other means to maintain control of the status quo. Jerry and I talked about the invisibility of LGBTQA people on an institutional level, and in ones that proudly proclaim their support for diversity and inclusion of minorities. I'm going to talk to you more on a more personal level, the emotional effects on those who are marginalized. Institutional and societal ignorance and intransigence to learning, growing, and dealing with change has a major impact on the people they say don't fit in, and that's in quotes. I purposely did not say fall into the norm because research shows that norms can be refined and keep changing with the world and expanded knowledge. Ergo, the Friedman-Hips Green and Gold Professorship. In our lifetime, Jerry and I lived through the conspiracy of silence, countless ballot initiatives, anti-gay ballot initiatives to rid schools of LGBTQ teachers, anti-AIDS initiatives, the long time it took to get any kind of protection for hate crimes against them. We all know that LGBTQ people have higher incidence of being bashed, in particular trans and even more so people of color, trans people of color. We also have higher incidence of depression, suicide, and substance abuse. Common knowledge has been out there for years. No one ever asks why. Well, it's just the way it is, and they go on. For those of you who don't know what the conspiracy of silence is, it is when the news media, entertainment media, and all such outlets conspire not to mention LGBTQ events, people, except maybe John's List after a bar or a gay bath beach was raided. LGBTQ characters in books, film, and TV are were portrayed, and still are at times, the worst stereotypes are psychopathic people who commit suicide at the end of the story, usually after doing a lot of destruction. The stereotyping of minorities is not uncommon. Look at how African Americans were treated in movies in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, et cetera, Latinx and Chinese. I mean, this is just business as usual. The issue of locker rooms, this is one of my favorite, and restrooms are always used to stir fear, to distract people from the real issues of equality and freedom for people to be who they are. This was true of Title IX and the Equal Rights Amendment, as it's true today for transgender people, and it's wrong. The use of ballot initiatives as wedge issues are a form of bullying on an adult level, but no different than kids ganging up and bullying LGBTQ youth or any youth on a playground or school. I can tell you firsthand from living in California for 39 years, where we vote on everything at least 3 times, when LGBTQ issues are used as wedge issues to support candidates or causes, it affects us all, whether we live in the jurisdiction or not. When Prop 8 was passed, there was a depression among the whole LGBTQ community in November 08. Imagine what good the money and energy fighting these ballot initiatives would have done for fighting for basic human rights, for education, economic equality, or social justice. Bullying is bullying, injustice is injustice, and discrimination is discrimination, however it's portrayed. The best antidote for such ignorance and fear-mongering is knowledge based on facts that are derived from methodologies that are sound, qualitative, quantitative, or mixed methods. The Sanford Friedman-Jerome HIPS Green and Gold Professorship was created to give professors the resources to increase the knowledge base about LGBTQA issues, to make the world a better place. The Jewish religion has 2 words, Tikkun Olam, which translates as heal the world. The other one is tzedakah, often mistranslated as charity. It means justice. And these are mitzvahs, which does not mean deeds, it means commandments. Those are the basis of what we want from this professorship. We want to heal the world. We want to right the injustices. Our intent is that the world be a better place from the work of Jay and future professors. And if that happens, the money will have been well invested and society will be better for it. Jay is the ideal person to be the inaugural professor for our professorship. He has shown great leadership in this area and set standards for professors that will follow him. It is our hope that the body of knowledge that comes out of this bequest will put an end to blaming victims, such as principals saying, if the child were more like everyone else, or what's the big deal? The child was born male or female. Why don't they just put that on their driver's license, their college registration, no matter how that person identifies? It does affect them. I am very glad that we were able to sponsor Jay as we have. It gives Jerry and me a chance to see the work that we have enabled. Jerry and I are grateful that we could assist such a worthy scholar in such a tangible way for the betterment of our community. Lastly, I too am grateful to be able to call Jay a good friend and part of my UVM family. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sanford and Jerry, for those truly inspirational words. I'm going to go off script just for a minute to say that these investitures are very important occasions. They're occasions of celebration, they're occasions of solemnity, of recognition. And I've not been to one, though, that felt just like this one. This one was really characterized by a sense of justice, a sense of compassion, and love. And the love between Sanford and Jerry and Jay is so evident, and between you three and everyone in this room and everyone who's listening. And thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that with us as well. As we reach the end of our time together, I would like to thank all of the speakers who have been here this afternoon, and to say again how deeply grateful we are to Sanford and Jerry for their far-sighted and generous philanthropy. Sanford and Jerry, I'd like to present you with commemorative medallions. These are a replica of the medallion that Jay just received. So if you would please come forward. Anyone?
Thank you. Thank you.
Jay spoke earlier about your parallel lives. So with your medallions, you can place those wherever you wish, and then you'll know that Jay will be displaying his proudly, and that he'll be donning it every time he wears his academic regalia, or any other time he wants to. We all take pride every day in the important teaching, scholarship, and research that our college's faculty members carry out. So much of the work they do is supported by the university's donors and advocates, including many people watching today. Thank you. This concludes our program. Thank you for attending this special ceremony to honor Professor Garvey, and thank you to Sanford and Jerry once again. I appreciate you coming together across campus, across the country, and it's just wonderful to have everyone present. Thank you to our virtual audience as well. We're so glad you were able to join us today. Please, everyone, stay well and be safe. Thank you again. I will add that in spite of what the Weather Channel said, the weather's not too bad outside, and there will be some photos. So if anyone is in the mood to walk out the front door, I think we'll have a few special photos, and you can just gather for a few minutes if you would like to do that.